Get here. Up here. Maybe it's a northern. No, it's a largemouth. Couple pounds. No, a couple pounds might push it. How about a pound?
It's largemouth.
Pretty green fish, aren't they?
Well, I guess they are.
Look how fat he is, too, huh?
Probably figured he better get all the food he can now.
Yeah, before the winter sets in.
Jerry McInnes has been taking America fishing for over 20 years. Let's join him for a visit to this week's fishing hole, brought to you by Eagle Claw. When you buy Eagle Claw fishing tackle, you get quality. Winnebago, an American adventure in motor homes, outdoor equipment, and clothing. Mercury Outboards, a fishing legend. Put the legend behind you. Ranger Boats, we still build them one boat at a time. New DuPont Stren Class Line. Come rewrite the record book with Stren. Overcast 15, the only sunscreen made especially for fishermen.
Boy, wouldn't you just think that men have all winter, most of the fall, I guess, to gather up firewood, that you wouldn't be doing it right here on the very first show of the year. Gosh, gotta have some, that's all there is to it. It's been kind of an old, damp, chilly winter for me, and the fire just feels awful good. It's amazing to me anyhow. You know, we got a lot of fishing to talk about here, and it's amazing how much bigger my fish are and how many more I catch sitting here talking to you about them by the fire. So let's have a good fire. I'm Jerry McInnes. Gosh, welcome to the fishing hole. I know we got a few new viewers. I hope we got lots of the old timers. We've been around a long time together, haven't we? We've got fishing. You know, every year during the first show, I just tell you, boy, we got fishing from all over. Got all species. There isn't hardly any way that I'm going to miss getting some fishing in your backyard, in your very favorite place. So we'll try to cover it all. Got some really neat stuff coming up for you. You know, as I think about that the fire here and a little bit of cold weather, I'm reminded about how many folks used to tell me that, oh, McInnes, you get a little bit older and you'll be able to take that cold weather as good as you do now. And I didn't believe them. Well, I'm still fishing cold weather, still promoting people fishing in cold weather, but doggone, you just have to, when you get older, you just have to put more clothes on, I guess. Hate to keep harping about the weather. The cold didn't bother us this fall. We ran into more doggone rain and went to the fair state of New York. Had some real high hopes for some great smallmouth fishing up there, and had some good smallmouth. But boy, we had to just go all over the state in 2-3 different places to basically get out of the rain. Ended up on Lake Champlain though, and I want to show you that. There is some doggone good smallmouth fishing in the Northeast. You know, we fished Maine and we fished New Hampshire. And I guess this is the first time I've really got in on a lot of smallmouth fishing in the state of New York. But let's take a look. Let's put our raincoats on. Maybe not right at the beginning here, but let's have our raincoats handy and do some bass fishing up in New York. I was wanting to throw this crankbait a little bit anyhow. Oh boy, hit that thing good, Don. Oh, fight you little booger, you. Try not to get in there on the spot. Nice little smallmouth, good. Get my crankbait, will you? What do you say about that?
That's a nice one. I like that.
He's about to slip out of my hand here. Say, just over my right shoulder there a minute ago was Fort Ticonderoga. And that was where we launched our boat on Lake Champlain. And we are on the big lake itself, and we're fishing the bank, and Don Perry has thrown in on the bank, and lo and behold has caught a real nice walleye on a plastic worm. And I don't know if I've ever seen a walleye that big caught on a plastic worm. Don is from Albany, New York, my fishing partner for me today, and we, as I mentioned before, spent a week running from bad weather. We had a beautiful day up on Lake Champlain, except for the fact that eventually here, very shortly after we launched the boat, I guess, the wind got so bad that we had to get off the big lake, which was okay because we had a little creek, the Ticonderoga Creek, that actually ran back to town that we could zip in on and get out of some of this wind. And lo and behold, there was just an awful lot of smallmouth in the creek, and we had a lot of fun going back and forth up and down this creek, fishing, particularly fishing one little spot where there's a railroad pier. You'll see it here in a little bit. But let me tell you a little bit about Lake Champlain. Beautiful lake. The scenery up there was outstanding when it wasn't raining. We hit it in the fall, and I'm here to tell you that when that sun was out, the Adirondacks are maybe the most beautiful area of the country I have ever been. In order to get up to the to this area, we had to go up through Highway 87, and I saw big billboards along the way making the statement that Highway 87 was supposedly the most scenic highway in the United States. Now, probably somewhere along the line someone would dispute that, but boy, I'll tell you what, it was really beautiful. Look like a little smallmouth, what you look like. Come here, come here, come here, come here, come here. Robbing the cradle there, wasn't it? Don? You hung?
Yeah, a little bit. Not too bad. Even the small ones have to eat.
Right. Here he comes, there he comes. Oh, little brownie. My drag was not taken care of. Quit that squeaking around there.
Little one.
He's not very big. I sure thought he was better than that. I was anticipating so hard there being a nice fish by that bridge. All right. Got him. Oh! Got him that time. He's another one about that same size. Oh! Oh, nice going.
Oh,
Nice
she is
going.
pretty.
Boy, that bridge pier's got us got some fish on it, don't it?
Well, I guess so. Come on, sweetheart. That's it. Look at that fish.
I had one on. I'm watching you.
Come on, hon. Come here. Come on. Oh, that's a nice fish. Now, but we got to get one bigger. He sure did like that
we
jig,
don't.
didn't he? Well, time to put you back.
He's wore out from all this carryings on.
There. It's going to wonder twice now after that.
Oh, he is, ain't he? Don't know what I got there. I don't think he's very big, but well, oh, he's about like the last one I caught there, I guess. Who cares what size they are, huh? Fish in this kind of setting.
That's not a bad little fish. It's having fun with you.
Boy, they're healthy little critters, aren't
Oh,
they?
yeah.
Woo! Still think there should have been one right along the side of this pier here. Pier here. Let the wind blow, Don. Who cares?
Can't hurt us here.
Huh?
It can't hurt us here. That's what's nice about this, even in the summer.
Sure is.
You get some bad weather out there. You know, a lot of people don't realize that, you know, there's places
Slip back in here. Boy, you come back in here in a canoe or something.
Oh, sure. A lot of people, they see a bay, and, you know, a lot of places like this you can't really see.
Uh-huh.
And unless they go search for it.
I like to dream about the rivers. I like to dream about those skies of blue. It gives me a fine feeling to dream my dreams come true.
Say, I'm all the time getting wrapped up in the actual fish catching, and I know I neglect talking to you a little bit about, well, just more educational things. Let me see if I can start doing a better job of that every week from now on. Hey, crankbaits are what we have used on many shows, not just this one, but this is a fish catching dude, and I have used generally a size that you see right here, maybe the next step up. And I like to throw, if you can believe this now, I like to throw them things on 6-pound test line. That surprises a lot of folks, but I can throw it on 6-pound test line, and if there's not a lot of bushes and trees and stuff to hang up on, I'm not going to have any problems, and my lure will run better on light line. Incidentally, you want to make sure that these are running correct back to the boat. In other words, you want them to come wobble right back to the boat and not turn up on the side and even come to the top every now and then. Another bait that catching a lot of those fish on the smallmouth today, especially around that old bridge pier, is a smoke-colored grub. And I catch so many fish on grubs wherever I go that I sometimes think that, well, you better not use a grub. You just fish with that lure too much. But when things get going tough for me, man, I got one on some 4 or 6-pound test line, and I'm fishing him in 8, 10, maybe even 20 foot of water. Now, I like to take the grub, which is incidentally just a piece of plastic, just like a little sharp, fat plastic worm about 2 inches long, and I put an 1/8 ounce head. I use an 1/8 ounce head with this particular lure. Now, I'll put him on here for you. And I want to remind you that when I have this finished, I will have the tail good and flat. And that seems to catch water, floats or drifts to the bottom instead of just going down like a dead weight. It will swim and kind of drift and dart to the side. And you're going to catch a lot of fish on it as it's falling. So you want it to fall correctly. But these grubs, the crankbaits, are for the most part what we've been using today. And they are 2 very excellent smallmouth baits. Naturally, we got lots of fishing yet to come, so stick around. We'll be right back. Say, we have moved our operation. We moved from Lake Champlain just a little bit further south down to Schroon Lake, Schroon, maybe 30 or 40 minutes south of Ticonderoga. And Don Perry, who is fixing to lose an awful nice smallmouth right there. Don fishes all this New York water. He's from Albany, and so the majority of his fishing is done down around the Hudson River and the Mohawk River. But he also gets up to this lake and up to Champlain and fishes in the upper New York about as much, and goodness gracious, they've got some great smallmouth fishing. Champlain Lake, which was what we were fishing before, has got miles and miles of great bass fishing, smallmouth and largemouth, and just really a mecca for fishermen. And then you get down into a little bit south and you start getting in these smaller lakes like this one that are also just full of smallmouth bass. This is a nice fish here, incidentally, and we put in on this lake in the morning and begin instantly catching real good fish. And then we actually just got chased off the lake by real bad weather. But before it got there for a half a morning, man, we really had it made. These fish were hitting crankbaits. And you know, incidentally, I was talking to you a little bit ago about making sure your crankbait runs back to the boat correctly. And what happens is the eye on your bill sometimes can get turned, and it will make the lure slide off to the left or slide off to the right. Now you have to be very careful when you start adjusting that eye, but that is how you get the lure to start running back to you correctly. It is so important. And this fish right here was probably out in about 10 or 12 foot of water, and I made long casts out in deep water, not necessarily up against the bank, but in deep water, and pulled it obviously pretty close to his nose, and he jumped on it. I do want to say again that I kind of got off the track right there. I wanted to say again that I enjoy fishing this New England water. We got down and fished on the Mohawk for a little while. Gosh, it was beautiful down there too. And we hit it in the fall, and believe me, when we did have some sunshine, the mountains and even down around the Mohawk River was just absolutely out of sight. I couldn't believe how pretty it was. And when we got on these lakes, that fall fishing was outstanding. Now, I would imagine this water's so clear that I'll just bet you anything in the world when the weather is not a little bit nasty and the water is a little warmer, imagine the smallmouth fishing gets pretty tough. But in the fall, September and October, just before it starts getting real bad, that's the time to be up there to catch some of these fish. There's a bunch of them to be caught too. I'm here to guarantee that. A lot of good salmon fishing up there too. That's the same one I caught a minute ago, isn't it? Come on. Atta boy. Let me get off that log.
Looks a little smaller.
Hey. What's that? Oh, I think he just liked it. I swear it's the same fish. I'm gonna have to give him time to get back out to the log and get in shape. How am I doing, Don?
I think you're doing pretty good.
Looking for smallmouth though, man.
Well, you're not holding your mouth right. You're holding it in a certain way to catch largemouth.
Is that right? Well, I'm used to the southern way, see? I think that's what it is. Say, this is a little bit unusual. I don't normally do this, but I would like for you to take a look at a still frame out of the show coming up next week. This is a big striped bass. We've got a bunch of these fish coming from Lake Norris over in Tennessee. One more still frame coming up. About 3 weeks from now, I guess, we're going to be steelhead fishing on the Asable River up in Michigan, and this is what a big old mean steelhead looks like. We really have got some good fishing coming up for you. I want you to tell your buddies to get around here and catch us every week. Don't miss. I picked a letter off my wall up here, and I'm going to try to do a little bit of this every now and then. Doggone, I get so many nice letters from folks, and I sure enjoy them. Some of them have questions. Some of them have offers to come fish with them, or a fishing tip or something like that, and I really appreciate you. Whenever I do get around using one, I'll send you a fishing hole t-shirt. I got a shirt coming to Bill Barlin. Bill is from Carbondale, Illinois. And Carbondale, or Illinois, and both Indiana, got lots of strip pits, and I run into more questions about those strip pits. How do we catch fish on these pits? They are so clear. And of course, that was what Bill was after in this particular letter. Well, strip pit fishing in the summertime, particularly when it gets good and hot, can be awful difficult. My suggestion to you would be, because the water is so clear, that you drop down the size of your line. Maybe you're fishing with 8 or 10 pound line. Gosh, get down in there and fish 4 and 6. Fish a little bit smaller lures, naturally fish a little bit deeper, and if at all possible, do some fishing at night. That will also help you catch a few more bass. That's what Bill was after, the bass fishing. That'll help your bass fishing on these ponds. As I said before, we got some good fishing coming up for you next week and the weeks to come. I appreciate you being with us today, and we'll see you later on.
Clear fresh water from the mountainside. A healthy.
Get here, up here. Maybe it's a northern. No, it's a largemouth. A couple pounds. No, a couple pounds might push it. How about a pound?
It's largemouth.
Pretty green fish, aren't they?
Well, I guess they are.
Look how fat he is, too, huh?
Probably figured he better get all the food he can now.
Yeah, before the winter sets in.
Jerry McInnes has been taking America fishing for over 20 years. Let's join him for a...
We've got fishing, you know, every year during the first show, I just tell you, boy, we got fishing from all over. Got all species. There isn't hardly any way that I'm going to miss getting some fishing in your backyard, in your very favorite place. So we'll try to cover it all. Got some really neat stuff coming up for you. You know, as I think about that, the fire here and a little bit of cold weather, I'm reminded about how many folks used to tell me that, oh, McInnes, you get a little bit older and you'll be able to take that cold weather as good as you do now. And I didn't believe them. Well, I'm still fishing cold weather, still promoting people fishing. Just think that men have all winter, most of the fall, I guess, to gather up firewood, that you wouldn't be doing it right here on the very first show of the year. Gosh, got to have some, that's all there is to it. It's been kind of an old, damp, chilly winter for me, and the fire just feels awful good. It's amazing to me anyhow. You know, we got a lot of fishing to talk about here, and it's amazing how much bigger my fish are and how many more I catch sitting here talking to you about them by the fire. So let's have a good fire. I'm Jerry McInnes. Gosh, welcome to the Fishing Hole. I know we got a few new viewers. I hope we got lots of the old timers. We've been around a long time together, haven't we?
A visit to this week's Fishing Hole, brought to you by Eagle Claw. When you buy Eagle Claw fishing tackle, you get quality. Winnebago, an American adventure in motor homes, outdoor equipment, and clothing. Mercury Outboards, a fishing legend. Put the legend behind you. Ranger Boats, we still build them one boat at a time. New DuPont Stren class line. Come rewrite the record book with Stren. Overcast 15, the only sunscreen made especially for fishermen.
Boy, wouldn't you in cold weather, but doggone, you just have to, when you get older, you just have to put more clothes on, I guess. Hate to keep harping about the weather. The cold didn't bother us this fall. We ran into more doggone rain and went to the fair state of New York. Had some real high hopes for some great smallmouth fishing up there, and had some good smallmouth. But boy, we had to just go all over the state in 2, 3 different places to basically get out of the rain. Ended up on Lake Champlain though, and I want to show you that. There is some doggone good smallmouth fishing in the